Wait, before you scroll, listen closely. What if the next 60 seconds revealed the one mindset that separates ordinary students from the ones who build the future? If this story moves you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more life-changing stories. In the quiet corner of a dimly lit campus library, 19-year-old Rami stared at the blinking cursor on his laptop screen, feeling like his entire future depended on a single decision he couldn't make. He had been drifting for months, overwhelmed by expectations, the pressure to choose a career path, and the nagging fear that he wasn't good enough. But everything changed the night he discovered a quote from Elon Musk hidden inside an old forum thread titled, "Frontier Ghost Trails," a place where students shared stories about chasing impossible dreams. The quote read, "If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it." And for the first time, Rami felt something spark inside him. A challenge, a whisper, a dare from a man who refused to quit even when the world called him crazy. As the library clock ticked past midnight, Rami imagined the giants of innovation forging paths through the unknown, their footsteps fading like ghost trails across time, and he wondered if he had the courage to follow. His life wasn't glamorous. He lived in a small shared hostel room, worked part-time at a local shop, and carried responsibilities heavier than most students his age. But that sentence kept echoing, shaking the walls of his doubt, pushing him to consider that maybe greatness wasn't reserved for the chosen few, maybe it belonged to anyone brave enough to keep going when others stopped. He spent hours reading more of Musk's words, about pushing boundaries, embracing failure like a teacher, and seeking knowledge with an almost limitless hunger, and the more he read, the more he realized he had spent years trying to avoid challenges instead of running toward them. That night, he made a silent pact with himself. He would no longer be the passenger in his own life. He would become the pilot, the architect, the explorer carving his own ghost trail across the frontier of the unknown. With renewed determination, he opened a fresh page and typed the words, "My first real step," even though he had no idea where the path would lead. But as he walked back to his room under the cool night sky, something inside him shifted. The world suddenly felt full of hidden doors waiting to be unlocked, and for the first time in years, Rami felt excitement instead of fear. He didn't know it yet, but this moment, born from uncertainty and illuminated by a stranger's wisdom, would become the first spark in a story far larger than he had ever imagined. The weeks that followed were brutal, not because the work was impossible but because Rami was learning to fight his own mind, realizing that Musk's advice wasn't about talent or luck but about the uncomfortable truth. Success demands sacrifice, resilience, and the courage to persist when progress feels invisible. He began waking at dawn to study subjects he once avoided. Physics, programming, design, pushing his brain to think in ways it never had before, and though exhaustion clung to him like a shadow, the fire in his chest refused to die. But every frontier explorer faces storms, and Rami's arrived on an ordinary Thursday when he failed his first major exam despite weeks of preparation. The disappointment cut deep, leaving him defeated, sitting alone by the campus fountain, convinced he wasn't meant for anything extraordinary. Yet in that moment of collapse, another Musk quote surfaced from memory, "Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you're not innovating enough." With trembling frustration, he realized that failure wasn't a brick wall, it was a compass pointing him toward growth. He wiped his tears, pulled out his notebook, and reviewed every mistake he had made, turning shame into fuel. Slowly, resilience became his new discipline. He started attending extra classes, built small passion projects using online tutorials, and joined study groups where he wasn't afraid to ask stupid questions anymore. His nights grew longer, his circle of distractions grew smaller, and the stronger he grew, the quieter his fears became. Challenges didn't shrink. They never do, but Rami grew tall enough to look them in the eyes without flinching. His classmates noticed the change. The quiet boy who sat in the back now spoke with purpose, volunteered for group tasks, and pushed ideas that sounded impossible yet electrifying. He even began inspiring others, becoming the spark he once searched for. And though success was still far ahead, he felt closer to it than ever, because he finally understood that greatness wasn't a destination but a lifestyle, a stubborn refusal to give up no matter how heavy tomorrow looked. The ghost trail he was carving through his personal frontier was no longer faint, it glowed with every challenge he conquered. Months later, the version of Rami standing in the innovation hall at his university hardly resembled the boy who once feared the future. He now presented his first working project, a compact, low-cost renewable energy device designed for rural communities, with trembling excitement but unshakable pride, and as the committee listened, he felt every late night, every failure, every doubt transform into strength inside his voice. He wasn't a genius, and he wasn't born with some rare talent, he simply refused to quit, and that alone carried him across a frontier most people never dare to enter. When the panel announced he won the award for Most Impactful Student Innovation, he didn't hear applause. He heard the echo of Musk's advice reverberating through his journey, proving that persistence is louder than fear. His project gained attention, leading him into workshops, collaborations, and opportunities he once believed belonged only to kids born in big cities or privileged backgrounds. But the truth hit him like sunlight. The frontier was never a place, it was a choice, one he made the night he refused to let fear define him. As he walked through campus, younger students approached him for guidance, asking how he stayed motivated, how he handled failure, how he transformed from an ordinary student into someone creating real-world impact. Rami always answered with the same honest truth. You don't need to be extraordinary to start, starting is what makes you extraordinary. And now, standing on the edge of his new life, he realized that the ghost trails left by visionaries like Elon Musk weren't meant to be admired from afar, they were meant to guide new explorers toward their own impossible dreams. With gratitude in his heart and fire in his steps, Rami stepped forward into the world he now believed he deserved. A world he built with perseverance, purpose, and an unwavering belief that success belongs to those who refuse to stop walking. And if you're listening to this right now, wondering whether your dream is worth the fight, let this story be your answer. Yes, it absolutely is. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more motivational stories just like this.